And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hanging on the Moon. It is episode number 8 of this show. I've already went through 2 co-hosts, but the new co-host is working out well. Josh Lopez is along for the ride again. Soon to next week, I believe, you'll have more experience in the co-host chair than Chris Walder. But we're just teasing Walder basically because Walder still does our audio podcast, which is tomorrow. But today it's the video podcast. Welcome, Josh, and we had Summerslam this week and lots of other stuff kicking around, but no breaking news this week. First time you've been on, you have not had breaking news right before the show comes on the air. I'm a little disappointed, I admit it.
I want to throw you a little nugget. I heard that Bully Ray over the weekend talked to the locker room in TNA and said that he was going to leave TNA once his contract expired. That's a little something I knew, but overall the weekend was great for me. I enjoyed watching that 2K15 panel for the video game, and SummerSlam exceeded my expectations, and it's been a good week for me.
Yeah, we'll get into the Bully Ray stuff and all the TNA. Are they dead yet? That's going to be the future feature now. Are they dead yet? They are not dead yet. In fact, they have a little more life this week. We'll get into that.
Yeah, the countdown on Hangin on the Moon.
That's right, the countdown to the death of TNA. Right here on Hanging on the Moon. Bully Ray, though, won't be around for the death, it looks like. That's what you were getting at. We'll talk about all that in a bit. But let's talk about SummerSlam. That was the big event of the week. Brock Lesnar is your new heavyweight champion of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the surprising thing. How he won is. John Cena got absolutely destroyed in that match. And I loved it. I know some people were complaining, but Steve and I did the post-show for SummerSlam from Between the Ropes. We both loved the match, thought it was incredibly booked. What were your thoughts on it initially, and then after having some time to think about it, did your thoughts change at all?
Just thinking about the fact that I was covering the show for the website, and kind of like, you know how you on the pay-per-view you look at a particular match and how it'll flow or whatever, or what kind of moves they'll do, if it's going to be a back and forth match or it's going to be like a slobber knocker like Brock showed on John Cena. And it really caught me off guard, but I thought it was a good case of good storytelling inside the ring. And it was one of the most unique title changes I've ever seen in wrestling, to be honest with you. Especially on a big stage like that. I really didn't have a problem with Brock winning, but it would have been nice to see Cena have a couple moves here and there. But I think they made the right decision. They wanted to have a unique environment, and that's what you always get with Brock Lesnar and John Cena matches.
Yeah, and a little bit strange. They go to Monday Night Raw. We don't see John Cena, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
We do see Brock. We do see Paul Heyman. Another epic promo from Paul Heyman.
Epic promo time.
Yeah, as if we come to expect anything less from Paul these days. I mean, yeah. Paul's just been knocking it out of the park. Love the photos with Triple H, Stephanie, Paul, and Brock going to all four sides as a little homage to Hulk Hogan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just hidden. I kind of like that. We'll get into Hulkster, who's not happy with Brock later, but I thought, all in all, good follow-up on Raw, but then it was surprising. Main event, actually breaking news. You might want to watch Main Event because they give away the fact that the rematch is going to happen. John Cena has invoked his rematch clause. They also did on Raw, which I thought was good. Cena is going to be back next week, and we're going to hear from him for the first time. But apparently, Triple H heard from him first because he called up Triple H to announce, hey, I want my rematch at Night of Champions. So here we go. I think the only way you can book this match, I said on the post-show for SummerSlam, this has to be an I Quit match. This is the only way I'll believe John Cena has a chance against Brock Lesnar at this point.
I mean, we were talking about it off air on Facebook about the match when it was actually announced, and I kind of found it funny how Triple H was announcing it with the background screen. It was kind of like something how Vince had when he introduced the Attitude Era. I don't know if they're going to do something more with Triple H announcing like that, but yeah, it's the only logical choice to go with the championship rematch, and I agree with you. It should be an I Quit match. I don't know if people will buy into just another regular match between the two. I mean, the best case scenario to have both guys have a fair and back and forth matches if you put a stipulation on it. If it's just a legit one-on-one match, what story are you gonna believe with a pro wrestler giving a UFC fighter a run for his money in a one-on-one match?
Yeah, and just the way the first match went, it
Mm-hmm.
almost led to that. And I think we've seen lots of little elements of teasing the idea of an I Quit match.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H's interview on Wednesday, he talked about Cena never giving up, and maybe it wasn't a smart idea to take this rematch right away. Paul Heyman talked about the fact that Cena never gives up in his promo on Monday. During the match itself, Brock Lesnar constantly was going to Charles Robinson, telling him to go ask Cena if he quits.
I
I
mean,
think
he
all
told
the
him to
seeds are
die.
yeah, I think all the seeds are planted to do the I Quit match. We just need the promo from Xena to make it official, and I think that's where we're heading with this. As for the rest of SummerSlam, people in general love this show. I wasn't as huge a fan as everyone else was. I did enjoy the show, but I thought a few matches didn't really live up to what I was expecting from them. One of those was, quite frankly, Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho again. It was better than the last time, but I still wasn't all that compelled by these two in the ring, and I don't know what it is. They just don't seem to make a good pairing for whatever reason.
I find it interesting because I've been looking over the last couple of match cards for the previous pay-per-views, and I think with the depth of the wrestling in the roster right now, and this the card for SummerSlam, I think it was hard for the fans to be all energetic for every single match. I mean, you mentioned the Wyatt and Jericho match. I thought that was another match that was kind of underrated due to their storytelling inside the ring. Was it better than their battleground match? I don't know. There's something that's clashing between the two when it comes to like the big stage matches, and it's not working right now. But I don't know. It's something like that. Like you were mentioning, you have one hot match like Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose with the lumberjack match. You had the Jack Swagger Russo match. I mean, a lot of people were into that match. Even Dolph and Miz. And then you get the matches like AJ and Paige. Not a lot of crowd reaction. Roman Reigns and Randy Orton did have a lot of crowd reaction, even though that was a solid match than I thought it was going to be. But it's like I think the more telling thing right now is the fact that there's a deep roster as far as what's going on in the ring, and it's kind of hard to balance that out throughout a whole show.
Yeah, but it just seems this isn't a good pairing. The pairing doesn't work for me. One of the things that I mentioned on the SummerSlam post show with Steve, and Steve got a laugh out of this, but I can relate to this as a big person. Bray Wyatt looked like a beached whale when he was in that Walls of Jericho. It looked terrible, and Bray
Yeah.
looked so mortal, and he looked like the fat guy down at the local Hooters. It wasn't a good look for him.
I mean, Bray Wyatt and Big Show would work well together, in my personal opinion, and seeing their previous matches before. I think they would connect better than him and Jericho.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know what you do with Bray.
It's odd.
Uh, you mentioned the match between Paige and AJ. I thought the crowd might not have been as into it. I loved it. I thought these two girls both had a chip on their shoulder and were kind
Uh-huh.
of ticked off. And you saw about four moves anyway that were just hard hitting moves. Like you're like, wow, the women are doing that. That was impressive. There was that one move where I think it was AJ took the face plant right on the guardrail.
Yeah.
I was blown away. I thought those two did a great job. Paige winning was the right call based on the storyline. rumors persist on what AJ's future is, but regardless of that, I thought great match, and I'm not tired of seeing this. I'm okay with seeing it again.
Yeah, I like the match. I think what Jim Ross says a lot is important, especially in the pay-per-view matches. If you're not one of the main feature matches on the card, maximize your minutes. And I thought AJ and Paige did that to the T. Even though I said the crowd was really much into it, I was into it just from what they were doing inside the ring. And I, I'm I always had this one rule, James, when it comes to like rematches on a pay-per-view. If it was good and then the rematch was fine, I don't care how many times these pairing clash with each other.
Yeah, as long as you keep the feud advancing, and I think you've
Mm-hmm.
seen that it's not over a title, but you've seen that with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and with these two, I think I want to combine both matches because we saw these two go at it in the main event on Raw as well.
Uh-huh.
Boy, oh boy, I could watch these guys work like 7 nights a week. That's how good it is,
Yeah.
and they always seem to entertain me. And as much as we all, as fans, complained about that lumberjack stipulation, I thought they did a brilliant job of figuring a way around it.
How?
Literally, Dean Ambrose attacked the lumberjacks. Who saw that coming? And chaos ensued, and a great match because of it. And then the next night on Raw, you get a Falls Count Anywhere match where Seth, he was the winner on Sunday, he wins again on Monday and puts Dean Ambrose through cinder blocks. Some may say, whoa, whoa, what's going on? Dean Ambrose getting 2 losses. I don't like that for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Ambrose is scheduled to go out and shoot a movie. That's why the heavy-handed angle and the fact Triple H says he's missing, by the way. If you've seen Dean Ambrose on a movie set, please send Triple H a picture because obviously he doesn't know where he is. But that is where Dean is for real and doing a cop movie, so that'll be interesting. Dean
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose is a crazy cop, but I thought a good send off for him. 2 really good matches where I thought, even though he didn't get the victory, he looked strong in both matches, and people aren't going to forget Dean. They're going to miss him.
Yeah. This is kind of funny you mentioned that the least anticipated gimmick match on the show was probably the best match on the show. And
Well, I think people thought it was going to be a good match, but I think they thought the gimmick was going to take away from how good it was going to be, and it clearly didn't.
I mean, I don't know if you're gonna agree with me with this next point, but I mean, I was at Payback last year, and the best match out of that three stages of hell match between John and Ryback was the lumberjack match. Lumberjacks, it's always interesting because you always bring in chaos, the chaos factor. You got the heels going after each other. Sometimes some other feuds that are in the lumberjacks surrounding the ring, they start clashing with each other during the match. And I mean, this match was all over the place. They went through the crowd. The lumberjacks didn't do their job. Kane came down to the ring and caused havoc again. I
It was
mean,
crazy.
it ended up being a handicap match with Dean Ambrose against the Wyatt family for a
It,
7 with the briefcase.
it was absolutely crazy. I mean, they were all over the place. It was chaotic. I mean, it was fun. That's of course the match on Sunday between the two at the pay per view, and yeah, I mean, a lumberjack match, if done correctly, can lead to a bunch of different feuds and can be really good and can get a lot of angles over in one match if it's done correctly. But oftentimes it's not. It's sloppily done and there's not really much thought put into it. But sometimes it can be a great gimmick if you have it booked properly. It can be used just as effectively as a Royal Rumble.
Hmm.
It's just all condensed in one match, and it's all within a limited frame of time. But the same idea you have with a Royal Rumble, where you have all these different angles built within the match, you can do the same thing, not as obviously, but the same thing can be done with a match such as this. That said, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't think there's something I want to see a lot of. And the WWE has a bad habit of once they go back to a match they haven't used in a while, we tend to see a whole bunch of them, and I don't want to see that with lumberjack matches. I mean, we saw that with battle royals. We hadn't seen battle royals in a long time, and then we had that WrestleMania battle royal, and then it seemed like we were getting a battle royal every month. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to see a battle royal every month. WWE, it's all right.
Yeah, it's okay, bro.
Chill
Anyway,
with the battle royals. What else was on this card? We had Roman Reigns, Randy Orton. I thought, eh, it was a good match, but it wasn't the breakout match that people were hoping for Roman Reigns. And I think a lot of people, they all know that he's supposed to be the guy, and they're not feeling it right now. And I kind of understand that. And I don't blame Randy Orton. I thought Randy Orton worked really well in this match, but I just think from the standpoint of I don't think they give Roman Reigns enough offense. I think his comebacks are really fast and compact, and I feel like he takes too much of a beating to get to his comeback, and that doesn't make him feel like that huge presence like a John Cena, which of course we didn't see on this pay per view. But normally John Cena is not getting manhandled like he did at this pay per view.
yes.
Normally it's an 80-20 split in the favor of Mr. Cena.
Four
And
comebacks and a bunch of finishers.
yeah, but with Roman, for whatever reason, it just seems like they have him take too much of a beating for too long, and I don't like it.
I don't know. It's odd. I was kind of disappointed with Reigns' performance at SummerSlam. I thought Randy Orton kind of had a chip on his shoulder because I think this is a personal clash between the two. I mean, I think Randy Orton doesn't believe that Roman Reigns deserves to be in the position he is because, I mean, you look at Randy Orton, a third generation superstar. You got Roman Reigns as a second generation superstar. Their whole careers are kind of like clashing with each other. It's eerily similar with each other. And you mentioned about Roman Reigns with the moveset. I heard him in an interview on the network special they just had yesterday. And Roman Reigns said he's not all about the moves. He's about reactions. I don't know how that's gonna turn back on him if it does, but I really thought Randy Orton really had his chip on his shoulder. He's like, okay, you really think you deserve it? Well, you gotta go through me. Say what
Yeah,
you
well,
want, but Orton's still one of the best wrestlers in the world.
he is focused in. I get what Reigns is saying with that. We'll get into that documentary a little bit later. I thought it was tremendous, the one they did on the Shield. If you do have the WWE Network, go check it out. The Road to SummerSlam with the Shield or whatever they called that. A really good documentary on all three guys and gives you the real background on all three. I wish I could tell you the football team that Roman Reigns played for up here in Canada. I don't remember. So I got to find that out. That'll be my homework for next week.
Yeah.
Um, what else was on this card? Oh, yes, we got a new Intercontinental Champion, and he survived through Monday Night Raw because we had the rematch, and he didn't win, but he got a count-out win to keep the belt. Dolph Ziggler, 1 foot out of the doghouse, and has beaten The Miz for his Intercontinental title. I'm almost believing Dolph has been replaced by Antonio Cesaro in the doghouse.
I'm gonna take it as a week by week basis now. As
Day
far
by
as
day.
well,
Don't even go week by week, Josh. This is a day by day
well, I
thing.
should go day by day because he's both on Raw and
Oh,
SmackDown.
look, $9.99. I just noticed that. You can buy Josh Lopez for the low price of $9.99
Yes,
somewhere in
and
Chicago.
Chicago, Texas.
Yeah, we'll ship him off to you from Chicago, and you can have him for just $9.99. Anyway, but Dolph, he is one tweet away from this all going away. Like I always believe that with Dolph, he really is.
I mean, he had the knee injury that he was selling on Monday as well. So I don't know if that's going to be playing a factor as well. We don't really know how's the recovery process with Bad News Barrett whenever he comes back. I mean, even if he does come back and The Miz and Ziggler are still feuding with each other, I think you have an interesting three-way between Barrett, Miz, and Ziggler that can work for a couple months.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We heard two legends talking about one Dolph Ziggler. Uh, Stone Cold Steve Austin on his podcast, he has part two with Mick Foley, and they actually get into talking about not only Daniel Bryan but Dolph Ziggler and how he's been used by the WWE. A very interesting conversation between two legends in Stone Cold and Mick Foley, and something I would recommend Dolph himself go listen to because there's probably some good advice in there for Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
But Dolph, he's a wild card. I mean, he's a angry tweet away from throwing it all away or
Yeah.
doing the craziest, stupidest bump that he really should do from going right back to the doghouse. But for now, he is the Intercontinental Champion. He is one of 100 wrestlers that did the Ice Bucket Challenge this week. So did you, Josh Lopez. So good for you giving money to charity. But my oh my, I think my favorite Ice Bucket Challenge though of the week, and it'll lead into talking about another match from SummerSlam. She is the wife of one Triple H, Stephanie McMahon,
Bow down
took
to the
the
queen.
Ice Bucket from Ronda Rousey and the Four Horsewomen.
Hmm.
That was bad ass. Way to go, Steph.
I thought that was pretty cool. As far as my ALS thing, I was trying to pay homage for my favorite part of Raw, where Rollins is being interviewed by Renee Young, and then Dean comes from behind and it's like, it's for charity. but
I'm liking this new gimmick for Josh Lopez. Every time he appears back on the screen, he has a new, different name key. It's very catchy.
yeah,
Follow along at home. It's fun.
I,
Um,
I thought, which ones were your favorite? I thought Maurice was a good one. Stephanie was probably my favorite so
I thought
far.
Stephanie's was the best because A, she took it with so much ice,
Yeah.
and then B, the fact she includes some people that you probably ticked off Dana White by using in that video. I'm just gonna go on a limb. Dana could have been too happy to see his UFC bantamweight champion all over SummerSlam.
On a WWE.com
Ronda,
exclusive.
Ronda was everywhere. She had
Yeah.
on Bray Wyatt's hat. She got to meet Ric Flair. She was
Woo!
hanging out with Roman Reigns. I
Don't
mean,
beat
I
that.
saw her with the Divas champion Paige. She was everywhere. The horsewomen, they did not get involved in a match, but they invaded SummerSlam. There's no question about that.
I don't know where that's gonna lead. But
WrestleMania. I mean, Ronda
that could work,
Rousey.
I guess.
Here's the dream scenario. Let's forget about the fact that AJ Lee might want to go make babies with CM Punk. Let's just assume that's not going to
Or
happen.
every diva on the roster wants to leave and make babies now. So
Yeah, women, what can you do?
yeah,
But anyway, let's assume no one's going to have any babies,
yeah.
and we get my dream match of Stephanie McMahon and AJ Lee with Ronda Rousey as your guest referee. That would be something. And you could literally replicate the Tyson thing because now you've made that connection between Stephanie and Ronda. So you can act like Ronda's going to go with Stephanie because they're friends now, right? And then Ronda pulls the switch and AJ gets the win.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I think I'm gonna go with what you said in the previous episode. I think it'd be more interesting to see AJ against Stephanie. Personally, I mean, you saw what Stephanie did in the ring, and I think they could put on a good match with each other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And you make Ronda the guest referee. That way she's not involved, so the UFC. I mean, they'll still have a problem with it, but they'll have less of a problem with it. And Ronda gets to shine and helps the babyface win, who will be AJ Lee. So something to throw out there. As for the match Stephanie did have, I thought it was a little slow. It was a little clunky, but give Stephanie McMahon a ton of credit. 11 years out of the ring, and she looked better than half the divas on this roster. And I'm being honest about that. Cameron couldn't have had that match. Eva Marie couldn't have had that match, and I
To
could
be
go on.
AJ.
Hey, yo, see, now Josh, he's selling a book. It's great. I'm entertained by your name key now. This is going to be a distraction the whole show.
Yeah, this will probably be the last one.
All right.
I don't know if ROH is gonna have a fight pass or whatever. So I don't know if they're gonna sell that for $9.99 either.
ROH should go on the WWE Network. That's what they should do. Those two companies should get together.
Merge.
Well, just like not merge, but help each other out. Similar to what UFC is doing with Fight Pass. Like UFC Invicta, the female promotion, they're still owned on their own, but they're running their pay-per-views through Fight Pass, which I think is a smart idea. But that's totally off course. Stephanie and Brie Bella, what did you think?
I thought it was funny. I thought Stephanie made Brie her, you know what, like she promised. I mean, she made her look bad in the ring, psychology wise, mentally wise, and I liked it actually for the time they had. I thought the turn with Nikki was well executed, and even though the commentary team sucks no matter what moment's going on in the WWE. I like that. I didn't mind it, actually.
Actually, in all honesty, commentary team, I actually didn't mind them on SummerSlam. Raw, horrible. They went right back to being their horrible selves, I thought. But I was okay with them at SummerSlam. But, I shouldn't praise them because obviously the next night they were right back to being their terrible selves.
You shouldn't have to bring a politically styled commentary brand on a wrestling program. I don't care who it is. JBL, go back to Fox. Cole, go back to CNN.
As I wear a Barack Obama t-shirt on the show, but go ahead.
Bring anybody. I'm fine with having Renee as the lead or bring in Tom Phillips or somebody. I mean, I can't stand JBL.
JBL is a problem. Like, of the three...
It was horrible on Monday.
Of the three, when he goes off the rails, there's no pulling him back. Like, it's really a disaster.
Yes.
It's awful. And anyway, to finish up with this whole Nikki, Stephanie, Brie thing, we get Nikki doing her promo. Steph came out with her Daniel Bryan shirt and had the Daniel Bryan music, fantastic. We praise Stephanie enough on this show. We'll just move on and say, bravo, more great Stephanie. But Nikki Bella, I've heard a lot of varying opinions on how she did on the microphone. Me personally, and I'm not a Nikki Bella fan, I think she's atrocious. But I thought the problem she had with her shoe, the microphone didn't work at first, all those things, all in all, it wasn't the greatest promo in the world, but I thought she did all right. Much better than her sister did.
Yeah, the segment was a little bit left to be desired, in my personal opinion. I kind of felt her being like, I'm sick of this. I'm done.
Wow.
I felt it was kind of disingenuous, to be honest with you. But
I like Josh's Nikki Bella impression. We got to bring that back for future episodes.
I mean, yes, Nikki's wonderful to look at. That's the only reason I'll give her points in this situation. But I don't know why they're going in this direction. I mean, I'm fine with Stephanie being the evil heel that she is, but really, do I need a girl to be like, oh, I can't believe this?
Wow. I like Josh's impressions of females. Good. I'm noting that for future reference. The slap, though,
Yeah,
boy.
yeah, she
I
went
mean,
down.
Stephanie is the queen of the slaps, but Nikki Bella,
Not bad.
impressive. I give it to her.
I gotta give her a
She
golf clap.
she had a lot of something behind that slap on her own sister. I mean, wow, that was something.
You think there's is a shoot? Do you think they have beef with each other?
No, but I think she channeled something. Like Bree stole some boyfriend from her back when she was 14,
Oh
and she
God.
channeled that rage and hit her sister.
I,
I
I
just
still don't know how Brie has a job. When you said on a on air WWE televised program that your wedding that you decide to plan a week after your husband has the biggest moment of his career and says that wedding is more important than WrestleMania, I still don't know how she has a job.
oh, it is. Come on now. Don't go all Vince McMahon. It is more important. They deserve to have their
Well, yeah,
honeymoon.
yes, I mean, life, your family and stuff is more important than wrestling. But still, this is the way she comes off. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm Daniel Bryan's wife. Feel sorry for me. Oh my God.
I thought the Brie impression or the Nikki impression was good, but the Brie impression might be even better. I can't wait for Total Divas to come back. I don't know if Walder will talk that with me, but we're definitely having you talk about it, Josh, because you can do impressions.
Whole Divas report. Why
Yeah,
not?
you can do impressions of all the divas on Total Divas, and I think that'll make great material for this program. So I look forward to that. Total Divas is coming back soon.
Go Summer Rae.
Yes, Summer Rae.
Well, I gotta give her some love because she played lingerie football in Chicago before she went to the WWE.
I did not know that. How do
Did
I
you
not know
know?
that?
Did you know?
Wow. Lingerie football. There is something. Anyway, where do you go after lingerie football?
I
I
mean,
guess
we already.
TNA.
I
They
mean,
would do lingerie football if they thought it would get them ratings, right?
yeah. I want. I just
Probably.
want. I just want to make a quick comment on Raw. I thought the show was okay for what it was. Not a lot of steam because you didn't have like major guys. I think they made the right decision with not having Cena on the show. Um, I loved the ending with Rollins and Ambrose. I didn't really have much of a problem with Miz and the Ziggler thing. I think you add more layers to it, and I think they made the decision having it as a count out or whatever. But I'm surprised we didn't get Raw Roulette, man. I
I didn't miss
am.
it. I was kind of glad we didn't get it. We actually saw Josh like paused. It was like you were singing, Josh. I don't know if that will come across on the video,
uh,
but
I
it
don't.
was inspired. It was really good. Anyway, that's all our WWE stuff for the week. Unless you have questions and you want to leave them, we're done with WWE from all that we have to say. But if you have something you want to know WWE, leave us a question and we'll get to it. But let's make the transition over to TNA. They moved to Wednesday nights
On Spike.
on Spike TV. They've been given a bit of a reprieve by Spike that they're going to at least get until the end of the year. And ironically, how's this for friggin' TNA? The last two shows of TNA could actually be Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve because that's when
Oh,
the
no.
show would fall. This company cannot get a damn thing right. They cannot catch a break if it was handed to them. Josh mentioned the news. Bully Ray apparently is done. Oh, by the way, he was supposed to be their Hall of Fame inductee this year. That should be interesting. We're supposed to be
Oh, God.
doing our big pay-per-view in Japan, and I don't know. This company,
I
it,
mean, where
I
do I?
don't mean to kick them while they're down, but it's hard not to. I
I
mean,
yeah.
it really is. Despite what they're doing, and yes, their shows have been better, and it's they had a match. I didn't see it, but I'm sure it was good just by the guys involved. Loki fought Samoa Joe last night. I'm sure that was fantastic. But that said, you know, it, it it's like it's like when you're in school and you know that there's the midterm exam and you goof off like all year and then there's like
Uh,
2 weeks left until the midterm
yeah.
and now you're just cramming to learn as much as you can in those 2 weeks. That is what I feel TNA wrestling is doing right now. And
I
I
mean,
don't think you pass the test when you do that.
where do I start first off? Because I heard an interview with MVP, Homicide, Loki, and Joe
Oh
on
yeah,
Sam
very good
Roberts.
by the way. That was with Sam
And
Roberts. On. It was a great interview, I thought.
and I thought they made a good point saying that why are fans encouraging a wrestling company to go down, especially with the lack of competition just in the whole spectrum of the wrestling business. Yeah, he made a good point about that. And whether we like a certain wrestling company or not, you shouldn't encourage that a company goes down because he doesn't like them. I mean, it's unfair to the talent that put their bodies on the line and almost kill themselves for the fans and stuff. But this thing overall in the business, I don't have the problem with what's going on with the wrestling. It's business. I mean, where do I start off? Your three Hall of Famers want out of the company. One's already gone. Your
That's a
upcoming
great
one's already
point.
said he's leaving, and the second one is calling the company. And I don't know if it's true or not because it's from Mark Madden. And really, who's is he really that reliable of a source? Come on now.
Oh yeah. See, I don't like Mark Madden either. Chris Walder tried to defend Mark Madden on the podcast one time, and I slammed him. I just was not having it. Mark Madden, the heck with him.
I mean, it's going back to those territories when they accused Vince of making them run out of business. You only have yourself to blame if you go out of business, if you own a wrestling company. It's not any other company's fault unless they purchase it. I mean, WCW had the whole thing with AOL before they sold it to the WWE. But as far as
But that
business,
was something they couldn't avoid. It was like
it's inevitable.
AOL wanted no part of wrestling, and it was a merger that was far bigger than WCW. This is different. Dixie Carter and her family are the ones with all the money, holding all the cards here, and this is their screw up at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Spike wanted 10% of the company. They want
Yeah, and
they want ownership of the company. If anything, that should help you out.
well, there's been two cases where TNA has almost been purchased. Spike is the one where they want to buy a percentage and keep the Carters in control. And the other was Jeff Jarrett with the country guy who's buddies with Jarrett, and his name slips my mind.
Toby Keith.
With Toby Keith, that's right, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There's
Toby
actually a
Keith.
Toby Keith restaurant in Chicago.
There you go. I've never been there. I go to Victoria's place before I go there. So there. But anyway, that said, he was going to buy the company, and same thing with Spike TV. Both had one demand that they made clear: no Dixie, and that killed it in both cases.
Nope.
Because Dixie Carter can't get away from wanting herself to be a star. And I mean, let's compare Vince McMahon and Dixie Carter, or even Stephanie McMahon and Dixie Carter. We don't hear Stephanie's Twitter handle being plugged on the show all night long on Raw. We do with Dixie Carter. Like, I mean, there's so many things. There's a Dixie action figure. Why?
There should be an app for Dixie Carter TNA announcements.
Like, yeah, and every announcement Dixie makes is big news. I'm sure she's on Twitter right now touting the fact that they upped a deal with Africa for their broadcast rights till 2019. Huge news. I'm sure that's going to keep the company in business when Spike tells them to go.
There's a
We're
reason
going
why
to bring back Kamala. We're going to bring back Kim Shi. TNA is going to be okay. They're going to broadcast
too.
live from Africa. It'll be great.
I'm laughing about this because yesterday they had a one of the oddest segments I ever seen in my life. Dixie
That's
Carter was
saying
up.
something with TNA, but go on, Josh.
Dixie Carter was in her bedroom.
With
Uh,
Mike Tenay.
yeah, speaking about her being propelled down to the table that bumped with Bully Ray. I'm like, oh my god, are you serious? Your bed?
Does Mike
It's
Tenay's
not
wife know about
Showtime.
this?
It's not HBO.
Anyway, TNA is what it is, but if you are a fan of TNA, they have at least been given a bit of a reprieve and have some more time. But that
I
said, the
think the
fact they were
casting,
given more time probably suggests they haven't been able to find someone to take them, which is bad news.
do you think this will run into the same situation once Jeff gets his like TV deal started for Global Force Wrestling?
That's a whole other kettle of fish if Jeff Jarrett can even get on TV. I mean, he obviously is acting like he can, but I mean, all I've heard from Global Force Wrestling is they've got a website that looks like it was made by someone in the 90s,
And worse,
uh,
yes.
and they have this database of talent and all these relationships to trade talent, but they have none.
Is it like Cyber Sunday?
I don't know what
Like
the heck it is.
internet? You
I
don't
have
know?
no idea, but I
You
do
don't? You don't
know.
remember Cyber Sunday?
I remember Cyber Sunday, but
No,
we don't
that's
have
what.
time, Josh.
No, that's what I mean. Because they said they have this database, so I'm like, okay, they're on the internet, just having like dots. That's how the
Oh
promos are
yeah,
gonna be.
Y2J is coming to save them.
God.
But anyway, so I don't know what where that company stands. I just really don't. I do know that the WWE took the top three talents that are on the independent scene right now: Kevin Steen, Prince Devitt, and Kenta. All went to WWE NXT.
And more to
So
come.
it is what it is. I mean, the best talent still goes to the same place at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Uh, Not much time to talk about NXT today, but I do want to get into Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor, they just had their event. Field of Honor seemed to go off pretty well. As I predicted, more than 67 people were at that baseball stadium, Josh.
So they beat
Amazing.
Louisville.
Amazing that, a company can do that, have an event at a baseball stadium and actually, have more than like 100 people show up. Well
What I find
done, Ring of Honor.
what I find ironic about that with the whole TNA and Louisville thing is that Louisville was like their home like development training center, and you
Yeah,
get
OVW. Yeah.
67 people to show up for your show. That's pathetic. But as far as Ring of
Jim
Honor
Cornette
goes,
could Jim Cornette, if they had not broken ties with him, Jim Cornette could have like gotten that just to come out to see him cut a promo.
well, he should have came back since Russo's not working there anymore.
Well, who knows? I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, we'll make the transition to Ring of Honor. Field of Honor went off fairly well for them. No major news out of that in terms of all the champions retained their titles. Jay Lethal still the television champion. Red Dragon still the tag champs. And Michael Elgin defended his title in the four-way. So everything's status quo for ROH as they head to uh, Death Before Dishonor, which happens in your neck of the woods, Milwaukee show, and then the show in Chicago.
Milwaukee.
You were saying you're 80% sure you're going to go to the Chicago show. I like the cards for this. Anytime the Young Bucks are on a ROH card, I think that's a huge bonus, and you're going to get to see the Young Bucks in both Milwaukee and Chicago,
Mhm.
and that is always fun to see the Young Bucks in action.
I think a bonus for me is that AJ Styles is actually going to perform this time because I went to the first Impact taping they had in Chicago after lockdown last year, and AJ didn't wrestle, so I still haven't seen AJ Styles perform in person yet.
Well, I got to see him. He was at the Global Wars, and he's going to be in Milwaukee, Chicago, and Toronto. So AJ getting some time off after the G1 and doing some dates with Ring of Honor. As well, booked on all three of those shows is Kazarian and Daniels, the tag team
That'd be
that
cool.
was once known as Bad Influence. They're involved as well, and you know the matches, the card in Chicago, it looks pretty good. On top, you got Tommaso Ciampa challenging Elgin for the title, and
Hmm.
a crazy four-way elimination tag match with the Bucks, Red Dragon,
No, it's an 8-man.
Bad Influence, and the Briscoes all involved in that schmuck.
It's a 8-man tag team match actually.
Yeah, it's an elimination match,
Elimination
so it's
now.
like yeah, so it's an elimination match. So
Uh,
the Young Bucks were bragging about how it's going to be all four of them just too sweeting after the match is over because that's what the Young Bucks do. They're confident young men, and I like the Young Bucks.
Survivor Series style.
They're awesome. Like I hope the rumor that they started is true about them going to NXT. I think they would be phenomenal.
I'm looking at the card here, and I know AJ Styles is taking on Cedric Alexander. That should be interesting.
It'd be a
Um,
good test for Cedric because
yeah,
Cedric is a guy. I mean, Kevin Steen put the weight of the world on his shoulders when he left. He said, "You're the future of this company." To Cedric Alexander, high praise from Kevin Steen, and Cedric has had, they've been building him up slowly. He got his big win over Roderick Strong in Toronto the last time. He is on the right path.
we got complacency. That's why I called the legacy. If you didn't know. Um,
You mean the decade?
yeah. Also, you got Michael Bennett will be there, and Adam Cole, your boy, he's gonna be
Right.
there as well.
Adam Cole, baby. Him and Michael Bennett were actually over in Japan and they tagged up
With his
with Maria
60s,
Kanellis.
with his 1960s rock theme song.
Yeah, and I do not know what the Japanese announcers were saying, but I do know they mentioned Maria Kanellis like 10 times,
Hmm.
Michael Bennett once, and I think they might have mentioned Adam Cole once.
You know what?
In other words, the Japanese announcers were very infatuated with Maria Kanellis. What they were
I
saying,
can't
I
blame
do
them.
not know.
I heard that Adam Pierce is going to be at the show too. I
Yeah,
heard he was joining the decade or
he's
complacency
part
or
of the
whatever it is.
decade now. So we shall see. And apparently, the decade is not all on board with this. This was Roderick Strong's doing. So
Well, he's the one with the ego.
the decade could be blowing apart as we speak. We shall see. Up here in Toronto, a bunch of matches have been announced for the pay per view. Michael Elgin on top will be taking on Jay Briscoe for the ROH title.
Nice.
Adam Cole going one-on-one with AJ Styles. I assume that's going to be a number one contenders match, but I didn't see anything official on that. But that would make sense to me that would be the stipulation there. And the one I'm most excited about, Red Dragon and the Young Bucks, 2 out of 3 falls for the tag team championships. Set your DVRs or whatever you do to record off the internet. This match is going to be wild. The Bucks and Red Dragon, 2 out of 3 falls. If this doesn't steal the show, I'll be shocked.
They're going to try to outdo the Usos and the Wyatt family, and
I
I think they
think
might
they'll
have a
question
chance.
you. I think the Young Bucks are, without a shadow of a doubt, the best tag team on the planet today, WWE included. I think they're that good, and
Do,
I think they just don't have bad matches.
do you think they'll ever go there?
They've rumored they were joking around, or maybe they're serious, but they said, "Isn't it ironic that we lost our New Japan titles, our ROH titles, and some other titles all in the span of a month? Where are we going next?" And they spelt next with NXT, and they kept making little references to it, and then they dropped it altogether. They also had the picture with Booker T, where they were at an independent show, and there's of course the famous story where the Young Bucks went up to WWE and apparently they did not shake hands with Booker T, and I forget who the other person was, but it
I think
turned
it was
into this big
Goldust.
hullabaloo.
I think it was
And
Goldust because he was a producer at the time.
anyway, there was big hullabaloo about it,
Hmm.
and the Young Bucks were basically shunned by the WWE.
Hey, who
And then
knows?
they had this picture with Booker T, and they said, "Is it an angle? Is it a work?" I mean, who knows? I mean, realistically, and I wrote about this and just speculated. We could have all four members of PWG's Mount Rushmore
I was just about to bring that up.
in NXT by the 2015, because Adam Cole's contract runs out in December with ROH. Also announced this week by ROH, Final Battle is going to return to the Hammerstein Ballroom early December this year too, like December the 6th, I believe it was. And the strong rumor is that's going to be on conventional pay-per-view. And with the logo, it says Final Battle Live, so it's kind of giving the impression that it'll be a pay-per-view for Ring of Honor, their second, and finally got some numbers on their original pay-per-view. It looked like they did about 12,000, 12,000, 13,000, well above what they had projected for their pay-per-view. So good news all around for Ring of Honor. The only bad news has been Kevin Steen got signed to the WWE, which is bad news for them in a way, but it's also good news because that shows that Ring of Honor is kind of the place you want to be if you're a young talent, because look where it can lead to.
I got a question for you, and I've been noticing a trend of former Ring of Honor guys going to WWE. Do you think a WWE version of Ring of Honor can work until they find a group, collective group of big guys that fit the WWE mold that can fit for both casual fans and hardcore fans like us?
I, I'm not sure. Like Ring of Honor, it appeals to a certain type of fan. I mean, work rate's a big deal down there. It's not so much in WWE. I mean, there's guys in Ring of Honor who never cut promos. Like you never see it, and when they do, they're very short. But at the same time, it's a talented group down there, and it just gets more talented and more talented. I mean, when you look at all the guys that have ROH has lost to the WWE, like, and they've still stuck around. I mean, TNA always positions themselves as, oh, they're the little company that could. No, they're not. ROH is that company. Look at all the people they've lost to the WWE. No one from TNA has gone to the WWE, hardly anyone. The only ones that have are ones that were already with the WWE to begin with, for the most part.
But I find it funny that most of the guys that have left to the WWE that came from Ring of Honor, most of those guys besides Colt weren't retained back to Ring of Honor. It's kind of like vice versa with the TNA guys that came from Ring of Honor, then they went back.
Yeah, well, there's a loyalty, I think. I think it's there with all the Ring of Honor guys that started there. I mean, the idea of CM Punk showing up at ROH would be ridiculous on many levels, but the fact there's so much loyalty with everyone that's come through that system, it's not the most ridiculous thing in the world. I mean, if Daniel Bryan was ever able to go back to Ring of Honor and not violate a contract, I'm sure he would. Chris Hero, he was released from developmental. He was in Ring of Honor almost from the get-go. It's like whoever runs through that company has a real tie to it. It's got a real feel. I don't want to say like ECW because I don't think it's like ECW, but that same kind of camaraderie that existed with the ECW locker room, I think exists at Ring of Honor as well. And it's kind of like you're always part of Ring of Honor no matter where you go after that. It's almost like that feel of, when you go to a college or a high school, you're always part of that no matter where you go, and you can always come back. That's what Ring of Honor feels like to me.
I always felt it was like us against the world. kind of company. I mean, you can look at it both ways if they're trying to present themselves as the anti-establishment or anti-WWE type of wrestling. Whether that's true or not, that remains to be seen.
I think they're just presenting themselves as, hey, we're an alternative. We do things differently than them. And they
Well,
do.
I'm fine with alternatives. I mean, I wish there was more wrestling companies that had television shows. I'm
Yeah,
just
like
saying
TNA, they waste their opportunity to be an alternative. They try and be WWE light.
they try to be everybody like.
No,
I
but light. They're like a lighter version of WWE. Like, that's what they try and be.
kind of looks like SmackDown from the whole presentation, from my point of view.
Yeah, SmackDown is. I saw a picture from the latest SmackDown taping. Not a lot of people there. I mean, not TNA levels of not a lot of people, but enough that the WWE might be a little concerned. But
I'm
we
surprised
shall
by that.
see.
Phoenix is usually a good crowd.
Yeah, apparently, they don't get their hero Daniel Bryan, who's keeping the streets of Phoenix safe. They don't
And
show up.
I guess they're mad because they don't get two pay-per-views in a row like they did last year.
Well, you know what? Toronto will top you there. 2006, I think, is our last pay per view. Come on, what's going on, WWE?
Hey, I get the gimmick
That's why I'm
pay-per-views.
going to an ROH show on September 6th.
We get the gimmick pay-per-views here.
Yeah, I'm just going to ROH pay per views in Toronto. Screw them. That's it, WWE. But we are almost out of time. Any final thoughts for the week, Josh?
For those who haven't got to see the Shield documentary, I advise you guys to watch it. It's only an hour. It's well worth it, even if you don't have the 9.99 yet. I could put the sign back up if you want me to. But
Yeah, no, it's all right.
I'm looking forward to see what they do on SmackDown. Will be interesting where they go to Night of Champions. Whether it's a kind of rematch from SummerSlam for most of the matches, or they change something up. Who knows? You never know what can happen in a wrestling week. News come out of nowhere, and it's gonna be a fun week. Always busy on BetweenTheRoads.com. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez CSR, and I'm back live on air.
It's on your little gizmo there.
Yep. I'm back on air with my radio show on Wednesday, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Cool. And we didn't get into it much. Rusev Swagger. It looks like it's done for Swagger. The feud's over. We've moved
Yeah,
on to Mark Henry.
I found it funny. He's like, I ain't talking to you, I'm talking to him, boy. And then
Wow.
he called both of them jackasses.
Yeah, Mark Henry not messing around. And I'm like fading off. It's like Bray Wyatt has come to my house and taken over. The
All
lights have gone
buzzing.
out. I better go turn some lights on or something, Josh, because
You got the
this is
lantern
getting.
with you?
Well, I got a light on over here, but it looks like we've gone to a total blackout here. The
Oh boy.
igloo has gotten very dark all of a sudden. I'm
Igloo.
sorry. Well, some people down in the south, they think we all live in igloos up here in Canada. Trying to keep the myth alive. But anyway, that was it for us this week. Thanks for tuning in, and if you didn't catch the show live, come catch it live next week, Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30 each and every week with myself and that guy, Josh Lopez. We're here talking professional wrestling for your listening
Redefined.
pleasure. So, and Josh will have more funny gimmicks with his little name tag. The reason why I don't
And,
do it is,
and Total Diva impressions.
oh yes, and Total Divas impressions coming soon. Uh, I can't wait to hear his Natalia. I'm sure it will
Oh
be
no.
great. Anyway, that's it. We've embarrassed Josh enough. It's time to say goodbye. So goodbye, people. There we go.